Hi everyone, welcome to Turkish series stars. All the juicy details are right here. If you enjoy this kind of deep dive storytelling, tap like and subscribe, and if you want to support us even more, that join button below makes a huge difference. Thank you for being here, now let's get into it. In the span of a few hours, the Turkish entertainment world found itself holding its breath as whispers turned into a wave. Because Alp Navruz, one of the most guarded, enigmatic figures on screen, stepped into a moment no one expected. A quiet murmur inside the industry suddenly swelled into a full emotional storm that rippled across sets, offices, and living rooms. The actor who had built a fortress around his private life decided, against every instinct that had kept him silent for months, to speak about his relationship with the captivating and equally private star, Alina. It didn't happen on a glossy stage or in a carefully orchestrated interview. It unfolded in an unplanned encounter with journalists and fans, those chance moments where emotion outruns strategy. Cameras flashed. Phones angled in. And then Alp, steady but visibly strained, said the words that would be quoted again and again by nightfall. "This is hard for me, yet I must say it." In that instant, you could feel the air change. His eyes, usually calm and composed, carried a softness that revealed just how long he had been carrying the weight of everything left unsaid. After a long pause, one of those silences that says more than any prepared statement, he finally addressed the rumors, the late-night speculations, the headlines that had tried to decode what neither of them had ever publicly spelled out. Alp admitted that keeping his private life untouched by the public gaze had always been a rule he tried not to break. But he also conceded that there are seasons of life when silence becomes heavier than the truth. "My story with Alina has been an intimate journey, far more layered than people can see from the outside," he said, revealing a fragility and tenderness most had never seen from him. The assumptions, the narratives fabricated by others, the little stories that sprouted online, none of them captured what had really unfolded in the spaces only they shared. People close to Alp say the decision to speak wasn't spontaneous. It wasn't an impulse or a miscalculation. For weeks, even months, he wrestled with himself, between personal loyalty and professional caution. According to those who watched him navigate that struggle, he sought counsel to manage the anxiety that grew with every rumor, every segment on television, every panel that dissected their silence as if it were a script. He wanted to act with integrity, to show respect to Alina above all. She had, in his own words, been a central part of a delicate stretch in his life, a steady presence when everything else seemed loud. The moment his words started traveling, the internet became an open stage. In minutes, timelines exploded. Trends reshaped themselves to make room for him, for her, for everything people hoped to discover and everything they feared to confirm. On Instagram and Twitter, threads unspooled relentlessly. Many praised Alp for doing what most thought he never would. Stepping out from behind the curtain and speaking plainly. Others asked why now, why not earlier, why not later, what changed? And then, of course, there were the skeptics who insisted this was a neatly timed move, a controlled burn intended to shield him from other pressures within a relentlessly strategic industry. Through it all, Alina's response was striking in its simplicity: silence. Hours passed, then the day shifted, and still nothing directly from her. People close to the actress say she followed every moment, watched the clips, heard the echoes, and quietly told her confidants that nothing he said surprised her. If you believe the whispers, they had made a pact long ago: protect what is beautiful by keeping it away from the noise. But the noise is relentless, and the barrier they built, however carefully, had been scraped thin by time and attention. Industry voices are already picking apart what this means for Alp's image, for Alina's too. Some argue this moment of vulnerability will humanize him in ways that open new doors, better relationships with brands and producers, smoother negotiations with teams that value authenticity. Others warn that when real love and public performance collide, things can get complicated fast. Casting directors may hestate. Storylines may be reshaped. The delicate dance between on-screen fiction and real-life connection becomes harder to choreograph once the lines are acknowledged out loud. Fans, meanwhile, have transformed into detectives. Every story posted, every song snippet, every caption studied. A change in a profile photo becomes a clue, a pause in filming becomes a sign. This isn't cooling down. If anything, it's gaining heat, largely because new accounts keep emerging, people who claim that recent weeks between Alp and Alina were fraught with unspoken words, with conversations that started and stopped and never quite landed. According to those whispers, the tension between wanting to stay invisible and needing to be honest was growing unbearable. The confession wasn't an accident. It was the conclusion of a long, private tug-of-war. And now the speculation machine is in full swing. Will they appear together in future projects? Would that be a blessing or a trap? Will they step back from certain roles to avoid feeding a fire that's already too hot? Or will the industry, always alert to a moment, build something around them, a project that blurs the line so perfectly that the audience leans in even more? These questions are driving panel discussions, primetime debates, and columns that try to predict what comes next for two stars who never asked to become a storyline and yet find themselves at the center of one. Media analysts say what happened today could mark a shift in how Turkish artists handle romance under the unforgiving glow of attention. Alp's choice, steady, measured, but undeniably emotional, is already being treated as a case study in how even the quietest public figures can be pressed to speak when the conversation becomes louder than their silence. The takeaway, they say, is not that secrets belong to the public, but that pressure has a way of reshaping intentions. Even the most private hearts can end up delivering statements they never imagined making. What's certain is that this is not the last chapter. Every hour adds a thread, someone posts a throwback, someone leaks a story, someone claims an insider angle. The narrative grows and changes shape, refusing to stay settled. For those who love them, this confession lands like a breath, finally, something true from the source. For those who critique them, it's an opening to question motives, to read between lines. At the center of it all are two people trying to protect what is tender while being watched by millions who want to feel close to whatever it is they share. There is also the very real question of the roles they choose next. If they lead a series together, every gesture between them becomes a matter of public dissection. If they avoid working together, the absence itself becomes a statement. Producers know this. Directors know this. So do advertisers who understand the currency of public empathy. Some insiders already hint that meetings have been scheduled, that conceptual pitches have been written overnight, stories that mirror truth just enough to be irresistible, yet stay fictional enough to be safe. But safety is an illusion in a machine that thrives on emotion. Those who have collaborated with Alp describe him as precise and protective, the kind of actor who arrives prepared and leaves quietly. Those who have worked with Alina talk about a luminous focus, a delicate discipline that rarely slips. Together, that combination was bound to be private. That's why so many find today's shift so disarming. When the untouchable lets you touch the truth, even for a moment, the effect is seismic. What lingers most from Alp's words is the tone. As if he had come to terms with the fact that honesty, while risky, was kinder than continuing to pretend nothing was there. He did not offer dates. He did not label what cannot be labeled in a way that satisfies everyone. He spoke from the edge of something fragile, protecting what he could while acknowledging what he no longer could hide. If it felt rehearsed to some, to others it felt like relief. Meanwhile, Alina's quiet has taken on a gravity of its own. Silence is not emptiness. It's a decision. People close to her insist that she values the clarity that comes from protecting her inner world, that she has no interest in turning the page into a headline before she is ready. She hasn't muted the world. She's simply choosing which sounds to let in. And that, perhaps, is the most powerful statement she could make right now. There are also whispers about how this will ripple through their schedules. Will the press lines for upcoming premieres include a separate corridor just to manage questions? Will their teams rework campaign plans to keep interviews focused on the work, not the whispers? Some publicists argue that, after a moment like this, the healthiest path is to keep moving, to let the work speak. Others think the smartest move is to allow one structured, thoughtful sit-down, controlled, careful, and definitive, before the conversation fractures again into hundreds of interpretations. Audience sentiment is split, but engaged deeply. There are those who shrug and say it's nobody's business. There are those who recount moments, photos, glances, and claim they always knew. There are the romantics, the cynics, and the tired observers who have watched too many love stories become public property and break under the weight. But wherever anyone stands, almost everyone agrees on this: the timing, the candor, the restraint. Together, they've formed a cultural moment too big to ignore. Make no mistake, this is more than celebrity talk. It's a reminder of the cost of being seen. Fame promises a dazzling stage but rarely mentions the bill. Alp and Alina are paying that bill right now. And yet, through all the noise, there is a softness to their story that resists being turned into spectacle. Maybe that's why it resonates so fiercely. It whispers that there are parts of love no camera can reach. So now it's your turn. Did Alp do the right thing by ending the silence himself? Should Alina let her quiet answer all the questions, or is a carefully chosen public response inevitable? What do you think this moment means for their careers, the roles they'll accept, the projects they'll decline, the way audiences will watch them from now on? Tell us what you think below. We read everything. If you want more stories like this, subscribe to Turkish Series Stars, hit like, drop a comment, and if you want to go even further, press join to support the channel and help us continue bringing you the stories others don't dare to tell. We'll be back very soon with fresh revelations, new twists, and those behind-the-scenes insights you come here for. You're watching Turkish Series Stars, where we follow every move, so you never miss a beat. Thank you for spending your time with us. See you in the next one. Take care and goodbye.